29 states in the District of Columbia have legalized medical marijuana, and Kentucky lawmakers are having hearings on whether the Commonwealth should be next. Advocates for House Bill 166 spoke yesterday in the House Judiciary Committee about the economic benefits of medical marijuana and how it could be a safer alternative to opioids in helping with debilitating diseases. The measure provides a framework for medical marijuana in Kentucky and would let local governments vote to allow it, like in wet, dry alcohol referendums. It was anticipated that the measure would be voted on today in committee. The opposition was given time to vent their objections, but no vote was taken. Lexington pain management specialist Danish Mazamdous tried to dispel the notion that only two options exist to control pain: opioids and marijuana.
We all share the blame in a broken way we tried to fix pain with pills. I find it frustrating that the conversation around pain continues to be so limited. You'll never cure pain with a pill. Pain is like a check engine light telling us something is broken. Whether it's marijuana or opioids, the most that a pill can do is dim that light for short spans. It's not going to turn it off or fix the engine. Without identifying the mechanical breakdown and addressing it, the dysfunction will continue, light or no light. So why are we focused on turning off the light instead of fixing the engine? I can assure you there are far more treatment options for pain that a well-versed specialist can provide than just writing for one of two medications. There's also an argument that marijuana reduces the number of opioid prescriptions and overdoses. Well, so does buprenorphine, ketamine, and other hemp-derived CBD products. All are medications with greater track record of efficacy than marijuana has as a plant. But access to these can sometimes be more restrictive due to regulations than access to marijuana. Addiction is not an area of medicine that we need more options. It's an area of medicine that needs more access to well-vetted options we already have. Leveraging an existing addiction epidemic does not rationalize opening Pandora's box by mainstreaming another psychoactive product.
Tommy Loving, Executive Director of the Kentucky Narcotic Officers Association, representing over 400 drug enforcement officers across the state, says the organization has voted to oppose both recreational and medical marijuana. He gave some of the reasons why.
As I understand this bill, this would allow anyone with a card to grow 12 plants. Well, 12 plants correlates roughly into 12 pounds of harvested marijuana. And I just can't imagine what disability you'd need 12 pounds of marijuana at in any given time. All states that now have recreational marijuana started with medical. I also understand there's a provision in here that state and local law enforcement cannot investigate an individual because they have a marijuana card and cannot assist a federal agency with an investigation. While that may be well intended and whatnot, but I think any good defense lawyer, that will be the first defense they raise for a marijuana trafficker. Card holders can share marijuana. You know, if this is supposed to be medicine, then I guess it'd be okay to share opiates. I think there's a definite correlation there. Also, as I understand, caregivers can procure marijuana for the patient, and the caregiver doesn't necessarily have to even be a relative. Well, the people we deal with usually find a way around things, so there will be caregivers, if this happens, out selling marijuana they procured on the pretense of getting it for a patient.
Chris Coron, Legislative Director for the Kentucky Commonwealth Attorneys Association, shared his organization's perspectives. Some of the objectors had framed their arguments to disprove that marijuana is medicine. Coron expounded on that and more.
No other legitimate drug is given in a dosage unit such as a joint, a puff, or a bowl. No other medical legitimate medicine has such names as green crack, poochie love, dopium, or purple Urkel. This is what's going to be derived as medicine in these days and times. As Commonwealth Attorney in Warren County, we handle over 1,000 indictments every year. We are at the front line of dealing with the results of the hard work of law enforcement when they end up in the criminal justice system. One thing a lot of you all that are practicing attorneys know, that at the end of a case, when we see a pre-sentence investigation provided to us by the Department of Probation and Parole, we get to see the life history of the defendant. the life history of the defendant, and what got them into the Department of Corrections. And I can say without question and without rare exception, marijuana is a gateway drug in the criminal justice system that led so many individuals down a path of incarceration, desperation, and addiction that we cannot stand for.
Louisville Republican Jason Nemes said that even though he doesn't intend on voting for House Bill 166, he reasons it's time for lawmakers to act.
Who the heck do we think we are as a government to keep this away from people if it helps them? But I also want to note that I don't want, and I believe Mr. Coron when he says it's a gateway drug. There's no doubt in my mind. But it's also an off-ramp for people with opioid addictions. And so while I struggled, I'm not struggling anymore. I support medical marijuana in Kentucky. I think it's time for medical marijuana in Kentucky. I think this bill needs some significant improvements. I've met with my friend Representative Sims and told him that, and so I'm gonna have to vote no on this bill. But I'm for it. It's time in Kentucky that we move forward.
As we said earlier, no vote was taken on the medical marijuana measure in the House Judiciary Committee today. Chairman Joe Fisher said the panel may come back at a later meeting to vote on the bill.